All right, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you could give me a quick thumbs up if you can hear me. I hope you are all having a great day wherever you are. Got my headphones here. There we go. All right, I can see you got Sarah, one of my wonderful members and coffee supporters. I'll talk about ways you can support the channel later. But great to see everyone. Already seeing some familiar names. We're going to be here to talk about the ACP Atlassian Certified Professional. I think they're calling that 520 or Atlassian Cloud Org Admin. You will notice something new in the chat. They have a fans rating, which I guess you get points for interacting in chat. That's brand new. I don't really know much about it other than it exists now. I just saw that happen. So that's what you're seeing there. But we're going to have some fun today. This is our next in our series of the professional Atlassian certifications. Now, you'll hear me mention the certification quite a bit, how to take the exam, but this information is useful even if you don't want to sit the exam. Information in this would have helped me understand how Atlassian products work, even though up until now I haven't wanted to take the exam. So please keep attending these sessions. You will find things useful even if you don't want to earn a particular certification. So please keep that in mind as we go. And please also keep in mind there will be people you work with or other things like that who will also benefit from this. So keep your ears and eyes open for things you can share and bring back to your organization and let other people know about. I have one more fun fact to add. There we go, before we get started. I'll talk a little bit about the structure of these as we go, but we'll start out with some slides. This one will be a bit more slide heavy just given the concepts and the topic, but I will try to bounce back and forth between hands-on stuff and slide-related things just so we don't get too bored staring at slides. But also to give you all a better idea just of what's out there and what's available. All right. So we're going to pop in and get started, and I will also talk about different ways to interact, which some of you have already found. First, by way of introduction, my name is Rob. I'm actually changing roles now. I'm now a freelance creator and instructor. So if you know of anyone who needs training, please let me know. But my career has been in some flavor of information technology, mostly on the human resources side. So helping HR teams use technology like Jira, like Confluence, like their HR system. I've been using Atlassian products since about 2013. And I was forced to use them. So I joined a company that used them, and I was just told, this is what you'll use now. Hey, Dom. Hey, Lisa. Good to see y'all. I'm also an Atlassian certified practitioner. I've earned the 420, and that's why I started these sessions. The first study session I did for this other certification was to give me time to learn. I find it challenging to make time in my life to study for certifications, especially now that I have a family and a house and cats and all that. So these live sessions really helped me earn some of these ratings. Now, since then, I'll be doing one of them Mondays for the ACP and one of them Fridays for the ACA, the associate's level. So be on the look for those. And I've never been an org admin. We'll talk about more what that means. But in my professional career, I haven't had the pleasure of being the person kind of in charge of Atlassian. David, welcome from Colombia. YouTube is great. You all can see and hopefully hear me. I cannot see or hear you, though. So please use the chat. It should just be over my left shoulder to your right to interact. You'll see people in there asking questions back and forth. You will also see me in there using things like a poll. So I'm going to drop one in there right now. And this is just one way to interact and to kind of help solicit information. So I just dropped a question. Have you been in a session with me before? A quick yes, no. And then we'll just get kind of instant ideas and responses to questions. You can also type into the chat responses, and there will be some questions I ask that are kind of more open-ended. Please use the chat to respond to those if you're comfortable. And if you see someone else ask a question, please feel free to respond to them. It's been great in these sessions to see the audience helping out the audience. So that is one type of thing you'll see. The other type of thing you'll see me drop in is a question like this one. And I'm still tinkering if I really like these or not, but these questions I will be able to see, and then I can pick out ones to answer live. Unfortunately, the rest of the chat doesn't necessarily see them, so please keep that in mind. let me know how you feel about that, but I will answer all those questions eventually, either in a follow-up post or in chat. Tushar, good to see you, my friend. Please also like and subscribe if you haven't. Subscribing just gets you updates to the channel, but liking will help other people find this content. So I need to be a better YouTuber now that I'm doing this more professionally, and just ask you all to hit the like button. If you could take just a quick second, that would be amazing. There is also a save and share button. Please use that to share this with other people who you might find useful. Again, someone in your organization, someone you work with. Please share the knowledge. Don't just keep it all to yourself. Chad, good to see you, my friend. Another one of my wonderful channel members. I clearly forgot to fill that in. As you can see, I was up late trying to finish these slides and completely forgot my concepts. But we're going to talk about organizations in Atlassian Cloud. What are they? How are they broken up? And what kind of access levels are there? Again, this won't be too hands-on. I will jump into Jira and Confluence Cloud Premium just to poke around. But keep in mind, these concepts are going to kind of drive and power how we manage Confluence going on. And I can see about, oh wow, 2/3 of you all have been in one of these with me before. There is another kind of question I'm going to ask, and that's going to be a 1 to 4 rating or 1 to 5, where a 1 is you're not comfortable at all. So I'm just going to drop this back in. So a 1 means you have no idea what an org admin does, and a 3 means you know it very, very well. And this question is just to get an idea of kind of where people are. I am insanely unfamiliar with what an org admin does, and that's because I've never happened to have been one. Susan, good to see you again. Feels like we got the whole crowd here from the 420. And I'm seeing kind of a mix. And I will, I give a good shout out to folks who say, I don't know anything about these topics. It can be very, very hard to say, I don't know anything about an org admin. So I appreciate the folks who are clicking 1 to say, I just don't know this thing. Most people, about 40% of us are a 3, which is, I'd say, pretty good. That means you probably have some exposure to it. Justin, I used to just ask this question in chat, and I couldn't really tell easily what the answers were, but people would give me all kinds of crazy numbers with the decimals, so I just made them round numbers. Sai, welcome, my friend. I hope I said that properly. So we're going to come back to org admins, but that was just kind of our first question in terms of how is it going? I want to keying out of that. There we go. So this is the ACP-520 breakdown. Now, this is important for those of us who want to sit this exam because it reminds us where we should be focusing our efforts, essentially. There are 4 major buckets, and that's roughly... Appreciate that, Justin. Also, as we're going, please just drop feedback directly, and just like Justin did. I'm constantly looking at ways to make this better for you all, and that's one of them. There's 4 major areas of this exam. The first is just on Atlassian organizations, and that's 40%. So we'll spend a little bit more time on this topic than on the other 3. But this also kind of tells you what Atlassian thinks is important around, their cloud products. Then we've got users and groups. 10% is on admin roles. So this reminds me that when I'm studying, if I feel like, I'm in a crunch, or I don't know where to study, maybe I focus on the bigger areas. And last is advanced features. So we'll have this slide up every time just to remind us of what percentage of the exam we should be thinking about and focusing our time on. But the biggest chunk is going to be on Atlassian organizations, how they interact with each other, what they are, how we conceive of them. This is an open-ended question. Why are you interested in the course? And there is no wrong reason, but it's important to remember our why. I'll share mine. I am interested just to expand my knowledge. When I learned Atlassian products, Confluence, Jira, etc., I learned it by doing. I was kind of forced to use it because my organization had it. And this then just made it part of my job. So I had to learn by doing, which means I only learned specific parts of it. I learned the pieces that I had to use, and I missed out on all the rest. So I'm interested in this course and this learning to help fill out my knowledge. But there's really no wrong reason. Especially if you want to take the exam, knowing your why will motivate you. It will give you drive. It'll help you remember what you're doing. Sachin, get more knowledge and to get certified. Justin, I see your answer to that question. Thank you, my friend. It's something I'm hosting, so it's worth learning. I'll take that. I'll encourage you for another personal why as well, just so you have your own, again, motivation beyond you just get to hang out with Rob for an hour. Now, again, many reasons. Some common ones are skills validation. If you are in a job where part of your job is to be the org admin, this will be very helpful. This can also be used to prove your skills to other people. So you might have a job that requires the ACP-520. Lucy wants to take the exam. Amazing reason why you're here. For me, again, it's the skills building. It's the what don't I know and how do I learn it so I can become a better version of Rob. So I'll ask this every once in a while, but please keep in mind, John, we're in the same bucket, my friend. Susan, the same bucket. We know things. Liz, another sysadmin cert. Awesome. I do also get a good sense of satisfaction over getting this certificate. It drove my partner crazy a couple years ago. I had them all framed up on a wall. She said, don't do that. But that is one reason. It's because you just want to earn the cert. I'll use the term completionist from video games. I kind of hope this is the right question I'm thinking of, but how comfortable are y'all with cloud tiers? Again, a 1, super uncomfortable, a 4, you are super comfortable. Fanindra, I hope I'm saying that right, wants to upgrade your skills. Matthew's got actually a great reason. These are cloud products, and they over time will change. So it's important for us to continue to refresh our knowledge. The cloud certifications expire after 2 years, unless you do continue learning. So attending Atlassian events, taking their trainings, things like that. I believe this live event counts as continuing learning. But over time, our skills will degrade because the product will change. And we're seeing this with like the UI updates and terminology changes. All right. This is my reminder to teleport somewhere different. We're going to pop over to the amazing internet, and we're going to start at Atlassian community. Now, so what we're going to do through this is use Atlassian Learning as a starting point to talk about what it means to be an org admin and how organizations operate. And then we're going to bounce between that and getting hands-on with what's happening. Now, this is a super important resource. Atlassian made all the learning free a few years ago, and I'll drop this link in the chat and drop it in the description. But under certifications, you'll get a list of every certification, especially if you want to sit the exam. Incredibly important resource. And it's this one right here, Atlassian Cloud. Let me grab the link. We will come back to these from time to time, but this is where I kind of live when I'm thinking through these exams and what I want to learn. Now, the exam details are important. This reminds us, demonstrating what you can do if you sit the exam. Here's that same breakdown. And this PDF is also a good resource. They don't have these on the ACA, which drives me nuts. But this is my guide as I'm thinking through these study sessions for how do I break up these courses? How do I, assign homework? How do I do quizzes? Check out these expanded topics. They will help you understand what Atlassian is looking for it. And even better, they give you hyperlinks to more information. So when I'm studying, I have this open and I go, what do I know about managing an organization? Oh, I need to know more. I can get more information on all of these links. But they break it down step by step, area by area, and this can really be your blueprint for studying. It was my blueprint for putting these live sessions together because this is what the exam is asking us to know. Now, that's not to say everything on the exam. It's not to say all of this will be on the exam, but everything around the exam comes out of this doc. So please take time to take a look at this. I will come back to this throughout this course, throughout the next 8 weeks, and I'll come back to this page. To pass, we need 62% correct. And there's up to 65 questions. So we got to get, it's like 40 questions right. So just something I keep in the back of my mind. For our preparation, though, I'm just going to click on Start Prepping. And this one has exactly one group. So through all of these live learnings, we're just going to go through each of these. And again, I'll go back and forth between the live learning and a hands-on demo instance to explain these, and then of course, grab questions as they pop up. But today we're just starting with Atlassian Organizations. Now, when we think of Atlassian products, the biggest way to collect them, I don't want to say organize them, is the organization. This is the thing that when you go create a free instance is automatically created. And you can see their definition here. When you're using this resource, anything in this yellow, very important term, when I study, I've got a pen and paper right next to me, and I write those down. I also keep other notes, but anytime I see this highlight information, that's an important term, keyword, etc. When I'm studying, sometimes I tell myself, I know exactly what a cloud org is, so I don't need to write it down. Other times, if I look at the term like site, like, I don't know about that, then I'll write it down. But when in doubt, I'm writing it down. That helps it stick in my mind. So I'll also be sharing some of the study tips I use as I go, just so you all can learn from that. But keeping an eye towards if I want to pass this exam, what do I need to be doing as we go? So the biggest level, we have this organization, and that's got at least one product and at least one site. And so if you have just one instance of Jira, you've got an organization. You might not even know it. Now, within that, you might have sites. And each site can have one or more products, but can only have one instance of each product. Many orgs that I've worked at only have a single site. They don't have a need to break it out. You'll see Atlassian use this, I'll say company, Woozlemania, I hope I'm saying that right, as a way to demonstrate this. But Woozlemania has an organization, and within that organization, they have multiple sites. One for India, one for France, one for Spain. And we can see each site has a different collection of products. So looking at this diagram, what it's telling me is the people probably who work in India have access to Confluence through Woozle India. The people who work in France have Jira, and the folks in Spain get both. Now, this lets them control access. It lets them control data within each site. So the people in France can only access France, for example. But at a high level, at the organization level, they can control all of it. And this is where we need to zoom up a little. I was used to being a space admin within Confluence, or a project, soon to be space admin in Jira. But this now has another layer above that. There's a site admin that controls the site. And then there's an org admin that controls everything. So the org admin is what I think of when I think of an administrator usually. They have, wrong button. They have as much power over everything, whereas the site admin controls things within the site. And then you might have a product admin as well. There is one call out here, and that's this Jira admin product. Well, it's right there on the screen. I was going to see if anyone knows what that is, but that's automatically added if you have Jira. So that's something we just need to know. If you have Jira, you get Jira admin. And if Jira admin is included as a product, it also necessitates Jira existing. Now, admins get their own hub. And so let's just pop over to this right now. Admin.atlassian.com. Admin. Let's go into this one. Well, that's very blank. All right. But this is the admin panel for this organization. Now, there are no other users in this demo box, so this does not show very much information. But this is where we get information about what's going on. So let me pop back here, and this screenshot actually has some dummy info. But this shows the admin, how many users there are, who's requesting which products, who has access. And again, when we think of this level of access, let me drop that questions back real quick. Actually, maybe I'll just leave it hanging out there. It's more about managing access to the overall collection of products and security. This level of admin doesn't really care about the individual pieces of content, for example, at this level. They're more concerned with who's getting in, who has access, how are we managing those things. Tushar has a question over the Jira admin product. It gives them access. It's the systems menu and admin features to Jira. I can't explain why it's a separate thing right now, Tushar. Well, that's a good question if anyone in chat knows why the nice people at Atlassian chose to make it its own product. I imagine it's some legacy thing where it just always existed and they haven't merged it yet. But honestly, I don't know. An important call out is org admins have the ability to delegate some of their power. So they might have to give some user permissions to do some functions as an admin, but not all of them. So in particularly larger organizations, you might have multiple people helping out. It's not just all on Chad to do everything. Chad might say, hey, Sarah, help me out here. I need you to manage users for me. So that is possible. Now, getting access to the organization depends on your role. The admin roles give you the ability to, of course, administer the org. Liz, I don't disagree, my friend. This is actually a great example, this discussion over the Jira admin being separate from Jira. It just exists. And it's something that we as, Atlassian users can raise our hand and say, hey, this doesn't make sense. And there might not be a good answer. So Atlassian won't put gotchas, like they won't try to trick us, but we do have to be aware of these oddities in the system that exist for some reason. Excuse me. So the admin roles, org admin, site admin, don't necessarily give you access to the products being used. They give you access to control and manage the things. The product roles are what most of us are used to. I have a product license to Jira, so I can go make work items. I have a product license to Confluence, etc. So just be aware of that split, admin versus product. Dave nailed it. Yes. So you can be an admin and not have direct access to Jira. More typically, you have direct access to Jira, the product role, but not the admin role. As you go through these, check out these quizzes. We won't take these together necessarily, but these little quizzes are a good example of questions you might see on the exam. And there's something that is useful just to practicing it, a feeling for what the questions are like. So that's the difference between org and site. Again, an organization is across usually an entire company. The sites are then their own specific groupings of products, no more than one version of each product in each site. Typically, a company would break up like geographically, or if they have a super sensitive group, they might have their own site for that. Thank you for that split, Sai. Admin shows up as a separate product in the listing, but it's part of Jira. So I can't go just get Jira admin. I've got to have Jira. Kyther, good to see you. So I've mentioned that org admin role, and this is they say it's a crucial role. This is what most people default to when they say admin. It's the person who can give access to other roles. It's the person who can manage users and permissions and product subscriptions and billing. So this is an important one at your organization. If you have questions on how are we getting billed, or I think we're overcharging, or have some ideas, the org admin can see that. They can also do things like remove or add domains to provide access, do security measures, monitor activity. So this, for me, someone mentioned sysadmin earlier, system admin, I think it was Liz. This is the sysadmin of Jira, of Confluence, of Atlassian. Now they get this nice little gray label. So it's a way you can access them. So if I go back over here, what would be a good place to go? You can see Robert Heen is an org admin. It clearly says org admin right next to it. So this just makes them very easy to identify. Typically, the org admin everywhere I have worked has been in information technology or IT. They tend to default to get the sysadmin roles, but you might have to ask around. Now, the person who makes the organization becomes the admin. And that's why in this example, I'm the admin. I'm also the only user. But when you spin up a new organization, you are the org admin just by default. You can grant that role to others as well. Now you'll notice that means they automatically get access to everything, and they get the user and product admin roles. So again, just something that we as admins have to know. If I make Tushar an org admin, he automatically gets user and product admin. It just happens. Now we can assign them from their user page. And there is also a group just called org-admins. So if I go dig this group up real quick. In this instance, in this organization, I have a group called org-admins. And folks in here are org-admins. Again, I have one user, so this person happens to have this access. So this also happens when someone becomes an org-admin. They get stuffed into the group. Now, you can also add them to that group, and that will make them an org-admin. Now, this is a special group. We can't delete it, and we can't use it as defaults. It's there just to provide the org-admin access and to let folks know who is the org-admin. That is something I had no idea existed because I've never been an org-admin. I haven't had to worry about it. So it's just a heads up, it's there. All right, just making sure I don't miss anything in the chat. And I'm going to drop another kind of a Q&A, they're calling it. You should see a banner that says drop your questions here. And that'll collect them all for me so I don't miss them. And then I'll bring them up in the chat so we can talk them through. So that is org admin. Again, that's the highest level admin, and that controls at the organizational level. We manage that by assigning people the org admin role or by adding them to that special org admins group. Now, one level deeper, we've got our site admins. And these are the people who can manage the site. And again, sites can have up to one copy of each product. But they can do things like see who in the org. Come back. View users and groups in that org, but they can't change the user page. So site admins don't have the ability to grant product access and don't have the ability to create groups. Again, something I had no idea existed because I've never been a site admin. They can go view it, but they can't do a lot of the things an org admin can. So important difference here, site admins can control the site, but they can't add groups because those are organization-wide. You still have to go to your org admin to do that. Now, they can approve or deny requests to products in the site. So something you just need to know about them. This is a great way to help. Above link, help us understand org admin, site admin. Sachin, could you dig into that a bit just so I can answer that correctly? The site admin can approve or access requests to products within their site. So if we think back to that Woozlemania example, the folks in France have access to Jira. The site admin can remove or add access to their own Jira. This is a caveat that I need to really think through. They can't manage product access from the user directory. Excuse me. So this is something I'll have to go play around with in a bigger demo box. But this will be a limitation that we'll probably need to know for the exam. There might be a question around, can site admins do this? Or why can't a site admin do it? Or something more along the lines of someone can manage a particular product, but they can't assign access from the user directory. What does that suggest? And that's another kind of question we'll see. So again, a good example of a caveat, something that is not immediately obvious, but is just true within Atlassian that we need to understand as admins. They can add new products, upgrade, downgrade, and cancel subscriptions. And they can edit, view billing information and edit the billing contact. So they can't add new, they can add new products, and they can edit the billing contact info. So they have access again to their site. They can't go into other sites unless they are also a site admin somewhere else. And they can add and remove apps. So this one is an important one, and this is what I run into the most when I work in organizations. They need to add a new third-party app for the marketplace. They don't need the org admin. A site admin is good enough. Sounds funny to put it that way. But again, most places I work, we only have one site. So you can have a site admin add those apps. Org admin is the only role that can give site admin access. So again, this makes a lot of sense. Your org admin is in charge of everything from the top. They are the people who can make you a site admin or take it away. Go to users, directory, assign site admin. So I've got my directory, I've got my users. I'll be very curious if I can actually do this. Because I am the org admin. When the ellipsis drop down. Aha. Assign site admin. And it's helpfully telling me I cannot. Oh, my Zoom works. Woo! I cannot remove my own site admin. But this is where I can provide or add these roles. Now, this is kind of funny and interesting. I can't remove my own org admin access. This is really a good thing. I'm the only org admin, so if I did that, there'd be no way to get it back. But this is where I would make someone a site admin. I would use this ellipsis and say, Rob's a site admin, and then pick the site. All right, I'm very happy my Zoom worked because that'll help all of you all. We can see the same thing here. You can give that particular role. A difference between site and org admin, there's no special group automatically assigned to them. So just a heads up, unlike the org admin, is there's no site admin group. Org admins can revoke it. Again, from this ellipsis, I can't revoke my own. And there would be a drop down in here as well to remove it. This is something that we do need to understand as someone's job changes, for example, or if they leave an organization, we'd want to go through and shut that down just so that access is properly turned off. So that's the highest level org admin. Next, site level. Next, we have a user access admin. And this is within a product. So this would be just within Jira, within the France site. This basically helps distribute responsibility for doing things. The org admin might be able to do this across everything, but the user access admin just does it within a particular product. And this is helpful because it means I can delegate Kythra. Go handle the Confluence product in France for me. I'll back you up if you need it, but you can do all of this stuff. You can view users in the group, you can invite users to them, you can grant access, etc. This took me a second to read properly. There might be groups that span products. This is just a call out right here. You can't manage groups that give access to products you don't administer. It's painful for me to read this because in my mind, why would you have access to the group if it's a product you can't touch? But just something we need to know. If the users are in a group with, if the group gives access to products you do administer, you can touch those groups. But if it touches other products, you can't. So again, I think of this kind of as a funnel. Org admin's the top and can do pretty much everything. Site admin is restricted just to the site. And then the user access admin is restricted just to the product. You'll see these blue boxes as well. I'll call these out as we go, but definitely write this kind of stuff down as well. Whoop, not that. The role's only available if you use centralized user management. Kythra, parlez anglais, s'il vous plaît. That's about all the French I can speak. Also, user access admins aren't billable users for their products unless they also happen to have a role in that product. Again, just good knowledge to have, I guess. The fact that it's here suggests it'll pop up on the exam. This type of thing isn't probably top of mind for most people most of the time, but is an important carve-out that you won't get charged for the user access admins unless they have other access. When orgs are created, there's a group created for them. This is usually the type of access I would end up with. And you'll see the naming convention here. When you become when you're stuffed into this group, you get user access admin. Thank you, Kythra. So these groups are used to control it. So similar to how org admins, there's the org admin group that's created. You would just have these different groups automatically show up. And let's see if I can find some for us. Yep. Confluence Admin's Knowledge Base Fundamentals. So people in this group get the site admin access just because they're in the group. I don't have to go do anything else. I can just click Add Group Members. And this has some interesting, try not to get too off topic, but if you can automate access to that group, you could also automate the creation and removal of your admins. But it's this naming convention: name of product, user access admins, and then site. And as you can see, they're made automatically. 3 different ways we can add that. You can add a user to the group, and that also, like I mentioned, works for groups that are synced through some automation. You can grant an existing user the role from users, and you can invite them into the access role. Revoking, just pull them out of those groups, or unselect it from the product roles dropdown. I do, Liz. I partially grew up on the west coast of Canada, and the east coast of America. I had a very interesting accent growing up. Now we've got sites. Within sites, we have products. Products also have admins. This is more what I am familiar with, being a Jira admin, being a Confluence admin. So just the product within the site. For example, a Jira product admin can make projects, can create workflows, manage settings. They cannot do things like grant access. So you've got to be the site admin to give access to the products. You can't just be the product admin. This to me was very frustrating because you cannot manage groups. This was the one thing that I know about the difference between these. As the product admin, you can't make or manage groups for them. Oh, fun. And here's a good split. Confluence product admins count towards your bill. Jira product admins do not. Just another important split. In my notes, I'm just going to write down Confluence admins $, just as a reminder that you have to pay for that as in addition to anything else your org is paying for. All right, wonderful. All right, so you can grant the role, and it's also controlled by group. And the names are similar to Jira-admins-site name. So if we go back into my Confluence real quick, Confluence admins name of site. Confluence admins name of site. Ooh, there's a split, Dave. Interesting. Smart Inv, it sounds like you're asking what's the difference between site and product admins in that case. If that's your question, I can see an advantage, because if we have a site might have 2 or 3 products in it, you can then delegate down more access. So for particularly large organizations, that might be useful. For smaller orgs, you probably don't need that granularity. Again, most places I work just have a single site, so we don't even really need site admins. We need someone with that access, but that's probably also going to be my org admin, and that person is probably also going to be my product admins. Where we can go add it to the groups on the user page. Confluence is probably the same. All right, the lowest level, if you think of it this way, is the user. This is what I am most used to, and different types of user access. Now, each product will have different types of user roles, and users with the role count towards your product licensing. So depending on the product, you'll get different things. For example, there's a guest in Confluence that doesn't exist in Jira. It gives limited access and is not billable. So this is something, I use Confluence a lot, so I'm a little bit more familiar with this one. But individuals with a guest role aren't billable, which is great. They don't count towards licensing. And you get up to 5 guests per paid user. Hooray. Ooh, and here's one I didn't know. Guests with a managed account count towards Atlassian Guard billing. I think we'll talk about Guard later as we go through this and how that impacts everything. But keep in mind, Confluence has a special user called a guest. And it's done through managed space access. Let's see if I can find this real quick in here. Guest. Whoa. No, won't dig too deep. Lisa, I think they're still free, question mark? They're tied to the number of paid users you have. And I do remember some carve-out saying if folks are essentially abusing this particular type of access, which is intended for like one-time consultants, external folks, they can use it. Now, guests are also restricted. There's a number of things they can't do. No user pickers, no at mentions, a lot of system apps, but they can use marketplace apps, and they can't be space admin exported or restrict. So it's a very narrow use case for them, but they are ways to get people into Confluence and give them access without having to get a paid license. They get a guest label, and there's other in-product updates and alerts letting folks know, hey, there's guests. In Jira Service Management, we have a special role, the customer. These are people who can add requests. Customers are not licensed. Oops, come back. So this is something I talk to some groups, and they don't understand. They think they have to pay by customer. You don't. As many customers as you need can be given access to it. Now, they are the folks who can raise requests. So most people in an organization probably have customer access if you're using Jira Service Management. But again, they're a special type. And all they can do essentially is put in requests and view limited knowledge base articles. There's another role unique in Jira Service Management. Jira Service Management gets all the special stuff. There's a stakeholder, which is similar to a customer, but it's tied to the incidents product. So it helps keep people updated and alerted when things change on an incident. So again, we're getting pretty granular with the type of users we have here. And I can see some interesting chat going on around very granular billing. I love it. All right, we can also, as org admins, enforce some security around this. Now you'll see it does require Atlassian Guard. You'll see this show up quite a bit. It is their kind of overarching security product that helps enforce things like two-step verification, single sign-on. So if your org is interested in these things, you might also have to sign up for Atlassian Guard, which is a separate paid subscription you have to do. 3 ways to grant most roles: assign them from the user page, add them to groups. So we've got those default groups, and you can see some listed here, but it's name of product, customer site name, or product users site name. So these methods will be important for us to understand on that exam. And you can also invite them from the product hub, from the admin hub. So as org admins, we just need to understand that we have 3 different ways of getting folks in there. Either just manually add them, put them in a group, or invite them. If you can automate group membership, you can automate a lot of the group or a lot of the access via group. So keep in mind, if you're using Active Directory or Entra or something like that, you can automatically feed people into groups, and that can do a lot of this for you. You might find yourself manually doing it for a while, though, until you can figure out the automations. Create an organization. So we're not going to do this together, but you can go get a free version of many of these products. If you just search like Confluence free and look for Confluence pricing, free and tiered plans, and just click get it now, you can follow that. I'll encourage you to do that as we continue going through this course together, because you'll be able to pop into this admin panel and just see what's going on. There won't be a lot in there because you won't have a lot of users, but at least you'll be able to get hands-on and poke around and just see what's going on. Oh, interesting. You can make an org with no products. Maybe I'll drop this link in there. So that could be useful setting up an org just so you have it so you can play around with it. back to our exam and just what we need to know. When an org is created, there are some things that always happen. If you picked a product, it's going to be put in. For example, if you go through the Confluence link, you're going to have Confluence as a product. It's going to make a Jira admin if you're using Jira. So that Jira administration product will automatically show up. It's going to make a user, and that'll be for whoever set it up. Again, when you create an organization, you become the first org admin, and you're put in that org admins group. That just occurs. There is a default access group, and that's the product name, site name. So Confluence, for example, the Confluence admin, Woozlemania is what they like to use. And then if you have a product, the person who creates it is the admin. So this step of things that happens will be important for us to understand. You might just want to memorize at a high level, adds the product, adds the admin, creates the user, creates the group, puts people in the group, makes an admin. And again, it's called out here in this nice blue box with the italics. It always happens. I'm quickly going to check to see what questions are floating around. This is a good question from Susan. Does the exam still use the term product, or do they update it to use the term apps? I'm going to assume it still uses the term product, Susan. So what Susan is pointing out is a terminology change that happened recently. In addition to things like, I'll say the term issue becoming work items, you will see other terms like product now be referred to as apps. So keep this in mind as you look at, even here we're seeing it, the chosen product assigns an administrator. Atlassian is playing catch up in terms of updating documentation. And the certification exams also aren't refreshed as regularly as the terms are being updated. So when you see the term product, just switch it in your mind to the term app. And when you see app, just know that's what we used to call products. But that's a good question. I doubt the exam will be updated to include that though, Susan. Can we manage groups in Jira by project admin? There is no way out of the box, Tushar, to let that happen. The product admins just can't touch groups. And that to me is incredibly annoying. So it's just not something we're able to do. This is where my relationship with my org admin is super important, because if I know my org admin, I can go up to them and ask them for help. Hey, can you modify this group or do something for me to help out? All right, folks, other questions? Ooh, Lisa, is there a differentiation in Confluence between team and company? I thought that was just on the Jira side. Sachin, yes, product is app, although the terms, as you even can see here, a Jira product admin can't do this. Rodney, you do know this exam. And congrats. So, Rodney, I think you just passed the 520 last week, right? For folks who don't know Rodney N, I have two Rodneys in the chat. Rodney is the Jira guy. You might have seen him floating around on things like the Jira Life. He's got a great blog, but an immense source of knowledge around Jira, especially on the back and technical end. So I'm really happy he's here to help back me up. Not right now, Rodney E, because I have two Rodneys. I can put some information together about specifically product discovery and teams, and I'm going to write that down right now. Product discovery and teams. It was a 620. Sorry, Rodney, I got my numbers wrong. Well, congrats on your new certification. All right, so that's creating it, and next we've got looking at the admin hub. We briefly looked at this. This is the admin.atlassian.com, and this is where the admins, the org admin particularly, interacts with things. Now, user and site admins can access it, but they don't have full access. So again, the org admin gets everything. Here we have some fun little diagrams showing us what's going on. I'm just going to pop into my demo box and we'll just look around. On the overview, we have this info screen, which this screenshot's better because there's actually stuff on it. Again, I don't have any other test users in here. But here I can easily do things like invite new people just by punching in the address. I can add them to a group right away. customize the email. So this is one way of giving people access. Excuse me. I can also come through here, and here we see that terminology difference, app, not product. I can choose to add more apps here. So I might want to add Jira Service Management. And as the org admin, I can see more information about these. So this is where I can add additional apps to it. This term app is probably going to get confusing because I think of the marketplace as an app store and the marketplace apps. So keep in mind when I refer to apps in this training, it's going to be the Atlassian products, the things that Atlassian makes. Next, we've got our directory. Again, I've got one user in here. I can add more team members, but this would list out everyone who's got access to this particular organization. I can search through them if I have to find them, and then take quick actions to do things. Resend invite, looking at details, etc. There's also that nice invite users button that takes me right back to this screen. And I love how as soon as someone asked it in chat, this is now showing up everywhere. Products are now called apps. This is my apps menu, and this will list all of the apps that I have tied in. You'll see some wonderful pop-ups around like the teamwork collection and all that. But here, again, is where I can add more apps to my organization as I need to. But I also have more, yes, thank you. I also have more abilities to control access. So I can see who's requesting access. You can see I haven't come in here yet in this box. I can add URLs, so redirecting them from the default, whatever Atlassian gives us. Oh, and I don't have access to user counts. Security is where we set up different security settings. Yes, Sai, that is another one. Jira Spaces are going to be a thing. Confluence is finally winning. I love that. Verifying the domain. This allows us to use managed accounts. I believe we'll talk about this in the next few weeks. But a lot of information around securing your organization. So this is something that most groups probably do once when they first join and then review every once in a while. But it lets you do things like set up external users. What is your policy going to be? A lot of this is going to be gated behind Guard. So Guard is an Atlassian app, got the right term, that gives us more information and more tools to protect our instance. But we can go through here and add some policies. So there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes on behind the hood that most users most of the time don't particularly care about that does impact the security of the organization. That's what this tab does. So this is something that probably is done once when a group first starts using an Atlassian product and then is hopefully reviewed from time to time. My billing plan, you can see I'm not paying for anything, so there is no billing listed. But this again would be where if I have questions over how much are we paying for Atlassian products, we could come see. And then just all of the settings around the org, like what domains there are, what contacts are set up. You might also be the org admin of multiple orgs. And this would be for particularly large companies would do this. We saw in the example earlier that we were using sites to split out, but you might have an organization, an org for your folks in EMEA and an org for your folks in North America. And that's where org admins can switch between them if they need to. But that's going to be mostly for the larger groups that use the system. Teleporting back in, I've got a few more slides to babble on about. I have set up two different things to help you all study. The link, I'll move my head in the middle. There we go. The link this way is going to take you to a quiz, and that's going to be 8 questions around what we just spoke about. And I'll drop these links in the chat in just a minute. I've got to go grab them. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat. That's a quick 8-question quiz. And this quiz relates just to this session. So what we spoke about around org admin, around site admin, etc. The link on the right, the other way, is to some homework. And this homework also takes the form of a Google form. But it's going to prompt you to walk through designing an org. So it's going to ask you, what's the name of it? How many sites will you need? What will go into them? What products will be included? What user groups will have to be in there? Who will be in there, etc. So the thought here is less about which buttons do you need to be pushing in the system and more about the thought process behind using them. So it'll kind of test you a bit on how you would consider and approach this. So please use both of these to help you really get these into your mind. I'll be keeping an eyeball on both, and I'll talk about quiz results next time, but also be looking into the homework and responding with some ideas or thoughts around them as folks submit. So please use both of these as resources. I'll put them in the description of the video as well after this. But I'm constantly looking for more ways to give you all a better experience and to help you learn this stuff more effectively. And I'm a bad YouTuber. Please also hit the like button on this video just to help other people find it. I told myself I would bring this up earlier in the video and I completely forgot. So please like and subscribe if you haven't. I'll get better at this, I promise. But please use these resources. I'll be doing my best to have a quiz and some kind of homework every session as we go, just to help us all learn this stuff a little bit better so we can get it into our muscle memory, into our minds. Next, this isn't a Confluence course. This is a ticketing system course. I've got a number of YouTube videos, and I am actually shifting over to becoming kind of a freelance project manager. So one way you can help support what I do is if this course is useful to you and your team, consider purchasing it. You can share, I'll drop in a link to a discount code in just a minute. That'll give you a nice discount on it. But if you or anyone you're familiar with would find this useful, excuse me, please let me know so I can hook you up with a nice price. I have a number of other Udemy courses as well if folks are interested. And I got to get the code ready. Forgot to do that in advance. It's going to be a very long, ugly link. And then our next session, I'm going to hide that thing in the middle because that's not quite ready yet. There we go. We'll be meeting again next Monday. Again, same time, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. I want to say it's 2 p.m. GMT 0, UTC 0. But we're going to keep moving on. We're going to go through about 7 sessions studying for 520, and then we'll have a review where we talk about kind of everything we learned. But between now and then, please study on your own. Check out that homework, check out that quiz, go over this training, but get hands-on. Go play and practice with it. Please attend next week's session. Keep the learning going, and please talk to others around this. Please shoot me an email, though, if you need help. robert@heen.tech. And I also haven't spoken much about Discord, but please join us in Discord. I'll have a channel specifically for 520, but there's also general topics around Atlassian stuff. It's not just for studying for certifications. It's about asking questions around, it's starting to turn more into tech and how do we help support people through that. Also, a quick self-plug, I've got that Udemy course. You can also become a member of the channel, and you'll see Chad and Sarah, and I'll give them a shout out. Look a little bit different in chat. They are green and have this great little star. But please consider becoming a member, and that'll help support what I do here. Right now, I do all this in my spare time, so your support would be appreciated. I'm going to go through the chat, though, and I'll shut this down in a few minutes, but the chat will be open to drop your questions. So please keep dropping them. I'll do my best to answer them, and please remember to like the video. That'll help me out if that's all you do today. But thank you all for joining me. I enjoyed learning about this. We're going to keep going, and we're going to see how many of us we can get certified if that's something you're looking at doing. Okay, we got some inside jokes going on. Right on. All right. You are all very welcome. John, thank you for coming. Matthew, thank you for coming. Susan, appreciate you're here. Dom, there will be a replay. You can catch the recording. Fanindra, great that you're here. Long, welcome. Sachin, you too, my friend. If you're interested too, I have a live learning tomorrow on SLAs and Jira Service Management, one on Thursday on Space Admin and Confluence, and then one on Friday on the ACA 910, I think it is. So plenty more going on. Tushar, good to see you, my friend. Kaithra, good to see you. And Tushar's already done the quiz. Awesome. I'd be curious what you think of it. Liz, good luck yelling at Apache. Remember, if you wax the server, it runs faster. Fu, you're very welcome. Thank you all. Remember, please like and subscribe if you can. Consider becoming a channel member to help support me in my coffee habit. And I'll see all of you